Welcome into Celtics Late Night. Ben Vallis here, along with Jake Eisenberg. And Jake, that was a tough one to watch, mate.
Ooh. Yeah, not the best game of Orange Bowl I've seen in a while. That's for sure. Yeah, they're definitely in a bit of a down little malaise at the moment. What up, everybody in the chat? We got the crew. Everybody's ready to roll. Going back to Raptors, Spurs, the energy and execution was mostly there, I thought, in the Nuggets game. Mm-hmm. It was not there today, specifically for two guys. But, it's January, baby, and they looked like it was January.
Yeah, it was a rough watch. And I am someone who, personally gets extremely excited for preseason games, like tweets, anything Celtics related.
Anything.
We do the show on our own dime because we love the Celtics so much. Anything related to the Celtics. And yet, this one was tough to get up for, I thought, particularly during the game. You could sense that energy or lack thereof from the team, and it made it really hard to care. But I suppose the positive takeaway, Jake, is I don't really care about their approach after the fact. I'm not sitting here concerned about any individuals or the team as a whole. It's just kind of well, that sucks. And, now we're going to get together and talk about the game afterwards. And like you said, shout out to everyone in the chat. You absolute sickos for hopping on more Celtics content.
Yeah, let's do
after the game and after the Garden Report. And we'll chuck this up on the podcast feed as well. So hello to everyone listening on the audio format later.
Hello.
I suppose where to start with this one, like you said, the Jays, a Jays malaise. Maybe we can workshop that for an episode.
Jays malaise, Benjamin, very well done.
Malaise and Tatum. All right, I'll stop now. Early in the game, just to give the Rockets, I guess some credit for
I'm
discombobulating them. Yeah, early on, we posted up both Jays. They actually took turns posting up ISO on the right side. And the Rockets are one of those teams that have a bevy of 6'7", 6'9" guys. So they don't always send the double. They don't always need to. They do have, if you want to talk player dimensions, Jake, the size to single coverage, that look, that action for the C's. And with the doubles not coming at the same cadence and rhythm that they're used to, the playmaking opportunities weren't there. The scoring pop wasn't there, so they weren't really able to take advantage of that single coverage. And it just kind of threw them for a loop, I thought. And then this is a completely separate point, but Jaylen Brown trying to go off the backboard to himself on his first touch was okay, wait, that's weird. What's going on here? So the Jays just a little off their game, but unfortunately, we'll get to some of the other real heroes of the game a little bit later, but I suppose we'll start with the Jays malaise. Jake.
The Jays malaise, I am trying to kind of figure out how much blame to assign to Jason and Jaylen and how much credit to assign to the Houston Rockets. You are correct in that they do have a lot of girth to throw at Jaylen and Jason. Jayshawn Tate, a girthy individual. Dylan Brooks, a thick boy. And that can be a body type that can give Jason in particular some issues at times. They didn't need to go to the post. Why? Aaron Gordon, for example, very girthy individual. Not someone that typically gives Jason trouble because he's slow-footed. But they were intent on really going into the post, both Jaylen and Jason. And they didn't adjust the approach once it became clear that they had the ability and the strength. And honestly, the fight. Jaylen and Jason, if you're going to go down on the post and try and deal with someone like Jayshawn Tate and Dylan Brooks, you spent most of your careers with Marcus Smart. It's not about the size of the dog. It's about the amount of dog in the fight. Right? That's the saying. That's what they always say. And those guys are always going to play bigger than they are. And Jaylen and Jason were playing smaller than they were today. And they wanted to just kind of go down the post and be like, yeah, I'm 6'9". I'm going to get it done. But these guys getting under them, forcing turnovers, playing clean defense, and not, at least the refs weren't calling the fouls. Mm-hmm. And then they just getting into the offense with 12, 13 seconds on the shot clock. That it was all of it. It was all of like the old gross Celtics habits, and didn't like it.
And so they get themselves benched. Halfway through the second, Joe says, "I've had enough." Great coaching move, Joe Mazzulla, one of many
Here we go.
this season. We're going to get into like an in defense of Joe Mazzulla a little bit later in the show when we talk about the Nuggets game, because we haven't been on since then. And a lot of online vitriol directed at Joe Mazzulla after that one. I think I can speak for both of us, Jake, when I say it's pretty well unfounded. But in this game, he pulls the trigger, pulls the cord, and gets both Jays on the bench to end the half. And it's the Derek White show. And great opportunity, like, to find a silver lining here, Jake, for Derek White to have an opportunity to show what he's capable of as a closer. And he did really, really well and closed the half with an amazing block on a half-court heave attempt on, was it Şengün that he blocked?
Yeah, it was.
It was such an emphatic block, man. It really punctuated the awesome manner in which he closed the half.
And I don't think we got to see it quite at the end. But he also forced a turnover on the inbounds pass from Houston. It was a 2-for-1. He hits the 3. And we've been calling the awful Celtics end of quarter possessions in the playback streams, if you're not watching, poo for none. Because they just have not been able to execute a 2-for-1. They love to get up, specifically Jalen and Jason, bad threes, more specifically even Jason. But Derek White perfectly executes a wide open pull-up 3, splashes it, gets a stop on the other, or scores it, and then, we didn't get to see a replay of it. Look, not Scal and Drew's best performance. They kind of treated the game as if it was a blowout from start to finish, when in reality it really wasn't. And they didn't really talk about how Joe Mazzulla had just benched its 2-star players to close the half, which is something that we've literally never seen before. But Derek
they were
White,
weirdly not locked in.
Yeah, no, because it was like the Celtics are gonna do. Sorry, do you hear like a crackling, or is that just me?
Yeah, I think it's my audio interface. I've just changed the setting, and I think we're good now, right?
All right. I was like, the alien. No, I can't hear it now.
Yeah. All right.
I was like,
I turned off my compressor. Now we're all good.
I was like,
I'm not going to sound as silky smooth anymore.
The aliens, they're listening. Is that you, Drew Carter? Is that you? I'm sorry.
We've been tapped by NBC Sports Boston.
Look, we're not perfect either, okay? But yeah, like it felt, and I felt the same. I think we all felt the same coming to the game. I thought this could be a Jordan Walsh game. It should have been a Jordan Walsh game. If Jalen and Jason played seriously for the first half, it would have been, because they were up 15, up 17 points in that second quarter. And if they would have just buckled down for the last 6 minutes there, then we would have gotten it over. But I give Joe a lot of respect. I feel like that's a big deal, and I don't think it's going to be quite framed as a benching. I haven't had a chance to really look at the post-game comments yet, but I haven't seen anything floating around Twitter and about like they were benched as opposed to just kind of riding the bench hot hand, because obviously that the Jays came back in at halftime and played their normal minutes rotation throughout that second half. But it was absolutely felt like Joe Mazzulla sent Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to their rooms, and the younger siblings came in and showed the older siblings how it was done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird that nothing has shown up on Twitter about that, because it seemed like a very intentional move and display and flex, if you will, by Joe to make that happen and bench both of the Jays. But look, it worked. I wouldn't say it worked in terms of reinvigorating them for the rest of the game. Like, they came back out in the second half and largely dog shit as well. I mean, we say largely dog shit. Jaylen Brown had a triple-double in this game.
I mean, yeah.
Jason Tatum hit a pretty critical late game 3 to really put the game away. But it's not the Jays that we've grown to know and love immensely here, Jake. So disappointing, but one of those games where you're just kind of happy to get through it and dust off your hands and move on. But there was a lot to this game that we should get to. Notably, the big Latvian fella, Kristaps Porzingis, 7'3" of grunt from beyond the arc there. He talked about it in his post-game interview with Abby Chin, which we've got here.
Kristaps, you had a game-high 32 points, but came out super aggressive in that first quarter with 15. Was the game plan to use your size?
No, to be honest, just knowing the coverage they were going to be in, they were going to play drop coverage with Şengün. So early on, I just got a lot of open looks. Missed the first two, but I just stayed aggressive, stayed shooting, and I knew they were going to fall sooner or later. And shots feeling better, and you was just in the flow of the game. I was able to get those open looks from my teammates.
You also had 5 blocks in this game, so do it on both ends. This team hasn't dropped consecutive games but once this season, and that was back in November. What is it about this group that you guys are able to bounce back?
We know that if we want to be a championship caliber team, that we cannot lose multiple games in a row. And we had a tough one the other night and against Denver at home, another championship caliber team. It was a fun game. We came up a little bit short, took some lessons from that one, and wanted to bounce back tonight.
Just saw you waving to the fans. There were "Let's go Celtics" chants loud in here in the fourth quarter. Do you know the green traveled this well?
Honestly, it's incredible. It's incredible. Everywhere we're on the road, we get this support as if we were at home. And I cannot think of another fan base in the NBA that is like this. And it's absolutely a blessing to play in front of these fans.
Kristaps, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Kind of a long clip, but I wanted you to see the celebration with the fans at the end there. It was good.
Yeah, dude.
Worth the wait.
I mean, if we're ranking happiest people in the world, like he's got to be high on the list currently. Yeah. Like he's got to be 99th percentile happiness on planet Earth this season.
It's us watching that, and then it's KP living that out in real life.
Yeah, I jumped from whatever percentile to the 99th percentile by watching that clip, and by watching this Boston Celtics team. Like, dude, what a revelation he's been from a vibes perspective. You know, we'll get to how good he is at the basketball thing, but he's just been a great guy. Like, Bobby Manning, CLNS legend. I mean, tried to have a little, because he I wouldn't say got frozen out late in the Nuggets game, but there were some questions about, do you think you would, would you like to get some of these shots at the end of the game? And he handled it like a professional. We're all trying to make the right play, etc., etc. Obviously, carries them to a win today when the two best players, apparently they were out with Mitch in the chat here till 5 a.m. in Houston. And, the big Latvian fella got a good night's rest and was willing to carry the team.
Yeah, well, speaking of folks in the chat who are in Houston, looks like Dimitri here was like in the crowd there. I remember a comment from Dimitri on the last show that they were going to be down in Texas there for at least one of the games. Dimitri, let us know if you're going to the Dallas game tomorrow. But good work, Celtics fans. In is it the Toyota Center in Houston there? In H-Town, as they call it?
H-Town. H-Town with the astronaut, which took me until like the fourth quarter to put it together. I was like, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Apollo, the astronaut.
Kennedy Space Center, or whatever it's called. Yeah. Or is the Kennedy one the one in Florida? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Kristaps Porzingis absolutely saved the day, along with Derek White in this one, but he alluded to it in his post-game interview there, but they defended him using drop coverage. Sengun was quite low in that drop, and the ball handler's man, which was often one of the Jays or Derek White, would shade over off of Porzingis and help defend the ball handler, just leaving Kristaps Porzingis fucking so wide
open.
Yeah. And like he said, he missed the first two, but he had so much time. He just had literally repetitions out there, just keep jacking him up. Keep jacking him up, and I haven't got the stats in front of me. I should. You'd think I'd be prepared for the show.
What do you need? I probably got it.
But okay, 6 for 11 from 3. There we go.
I gotcha.
Which is good for.
Dimitri's going to be in Dallas tomorrow as well. All right. Little Celtics adventure. I love it,
that's
dude.
Awesome.
I got a question for you. So, 6 for 11 from 3. That is his highest 3-point attempt number on the season. He's previously had 9 3-point attempts. A couple of times, 8 a couple of times, 7 a few times, but 11 by far and away his most 3-point attempts. Part of that was definitely the coverage today a little bit, but I think he does turn down some looks with that he could definitely get off, and I'm just really comfortable with him upping his 3-point rate, his 3-point shot rate. I know he hasn't knocked down as many threes this season, like his 3-point percentage. It has climbed up a little bit here, up to 33.6, 34. After today, it's going to be into the 34-ish range after hovering around the 32 range for a little while. Mm-hmm. So we're trending up here. I just when he catches that ball and he can fire away, it's just good offense to me. I'm really comfortable with him taking this shot. Like, I believe in that shot with all of my heart, and I would like to see him taking more shots because he's taking 4.9 3-pointers a game. That's down from 5.5 last year. Obviously, it's a different role. But 4.9 for the type of weapon that it is, it's such easy offense to get to as well. I would like him to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, and it's almost always a good look because his head's basically in the clouds. He exists at another altitude, a higher altitude than most of his defenders. And so, even if they're right up on him, he's still going to get a good glance at the basket. And then, you start to get your defender out of the paint as well. It worked well with Şengün after a while. He couldn't keep going to that drop coverage. He had to come up closer to the level of the screen, which did open up opportunities for guys like Derek White. It worked quite well at the beginning of the Nuggets game as well, where we're drawing with some success. Yep. Jokic out of the paint, and when we weren't, he was actually hitting those threes early in that game as well. So it's always a good look, and it's just good process as far as how it forces your opponent to adjust. And they did that in this game, and the theme of the second half, or at least the fourth quarter for KP in this one, was post-ups. And he was posting up, and he was getting himself to the free throw line, and he was getting good looks, and those ones where he sort of turns around, and it looks so awkward. His legs are flailing everywhere, but he does turn around and get a good glance at the basket, and usually he's able to throw it in. It's an ugly-looking shot, but it's a good look for him historically.
Yeah, 3 for 5 in the fourth quarter, 6 points. Jason Tatum quietly with 8 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, very quietly.
But yeah, man, KP, this is the late game offense. It does look a little clunky, but he is so good. Even on some of these sturdier defenders, he had that one late. Against, I forget, over the top of, I'm not sure if it was Jason Tate or Dylan Brooks, because he'd been kind of posting them up and then kind of bang into them. But then the next one, it was against number one is Amon Thompson, and then just one-handed flip over the top, and then the last one where it was a pure just jumper from like the 15-foot range, and pure, and he's just doing the trot pedaling back to, and he's just feeling it. And that's a shot that he doesn't actually do that much. It's just the pure shooter. He kind of tries to draw contact, and man, he's got one of the best free throw rates in the NBA. But it is just nice. Like, it's a shot that he can get to at any point.
Yeah, and I really do agree with you there on, he should look to increase his three-point rate. I'd sort of speculated, and this is hugely speculation, but that he probably doesn't feel, I'm assuming, too confident jacking up that many threes, given all the tools in the shed as far as all the options on the team and everything. So you would hope that after time or over time, he gets a little bit more comfortable. He understands that that's one of the better looks that we can get, especially dependent on where we are on the shot clock, and starts to chuck those up at a higher rate. So you love to see it, and you love to see him go in because he hasn't exactly been throwing them in since the beginning of the season.
But that, and you mentioned it before, it forces his defenses to adjust. And today, right, he misses his first two, but he hits the next one at least, and then he goes on a crazy run from there. But all he really needs to do, in my opinion, is go 1 for 4, or whatever he hits his first one. Doesn't matter if it's the first one, if it's 1 for 3, 1 for 4. As soon as he hits that first one, because the scouting report is, people are aware that he is a sniper. 7'3", 5+ years, shooting 38, 39% from 3 on the exact same looks. That's what the scouting report is. That's how he's going to be defended. And as soon as he hits that first 3, it just changes the way that everybody's defending. It changes the way that defenders know that I got to get out on that closeout. I got to make him a little bit more uncomfortable. And then that's when you can start to catch people off balance, which is why I really like it, because as much as, the threes versus the getting to the rim thing, you do need to hit threes to open up the drive and kick game. And he's able to get good looks at all times. And he's just such a luxury to have, because inside, outside, it just opens it up.
Yeah, and even if he misses the first 3 or 4, today, you said, he missed the first 2, you'd have to imagine that the instruction is defensively against KP. It's okay, you're in a deep drop, but he's really getting those up. Don't let him get hot.
Yeah,
you do actually need to come up closer to the level of the screen. So, again, good process. Have we satisfied your Derek White quota, Jake? Have we talked enough Derek White? Because he was spectacular in this game. I know we sort of touched on him in the sort of the general sense of how the game was won, but do you want to dive in a little deeper there?
Well, I do think it's important to kind of note that we may have gotten through the curse period. Like Derek White was incredible in the Nuggets game. I don't know how we didn't win the game after we got the Derek White third quarter that we got, plus the Porzingis kiss on the top of the head. Like that should have been it. That should have been it right there. But that game and then into today, Derek was excellent. I thought decision making. He wasn't as efficient as he's been throughout the season, but that just speaks to how efficient he has been. But 47% from the floor, you take 38% from three. He was really good, and defensively, like they really needed him. The blocks on. He was just making plays, doing the things that I originally fell in love for Derek White for. Like all of this him becoming like a legit like lead scorer that can put up 20 plus on any given night when you need him. Like not something that I really ever expected from D White. The reason I fell in love with him was because of the Marcus Smartness. The winning plays. That's what Celtics fans love about their players, is especially their role guys. Is he took a charge in the Nuggets game, which we haven't seen a lot of. So he's definitely back to winning plays. Yeah, we're 0-1 when KP gives smoochies, and I think we got to raise the volume on that. The sample size is too small to let it go to waste.
One smooch per game until we get back above 500.
I think it's only right.
Yeah. Let's make it happen. This comment here from Jamie D, and shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got over 50 people in here. Late night Boston time, so appreciate all of you. But Jamie says plus 50 on the stream. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get first to the floor.
Get in there.
Up to 3,000 subs. We're so close to 3,000 subs, and we've kind of been hovering at 2,800 for a little while. So if you're thinking about committing your algorithm to more Celtics content, click subscribe. It's just more of this, more of the same in your feed. Yesterday, we put out our 4th installment of the Underrated Celtics Plays series, which we're really proud of. It's a fun, 5-minute hang of us just watching Celtics film and half analyzing it and half sort of joking about it and just enjoying it for what it is. And lots of Luke Cornett content in the last one. And if you think that sounds boring, believe me, it's not. Luke Cornett's been doing a lot of good stuff. Including this game, as I attempt to segue, Jake. Luke Cornett was properly fucking good in this game. Am I wrong?
Hey, he had a rough first stint, but my computer shut down at that point, so I missed that. So to me, Luke Cornett was pretty much perfect. He was actually very crucial. I'm very glad that we didn't in the second half see too much double bigs and or Cater in the second half.
I was wondering when you were going to bring him up.
I was deciding in my head whether or not to should I just be like, gosh, let's just stay positive. But that was part of it, was when you go double bigs, when Al's not playing with Cornett and Porzingis, then you just have to play Cater. And to be fair, today should have been a game where you can get some reps for some of your developmental guys like Cater and Jordan Walsh. God damn you, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They must hate Jordan Walsh. Because it feels like the second time in a row now where they've refused to just lock in for a few minutes to get some extra time for the end of bench guys. But Cornett defensively, 3 blocks tonight and just really impactful around the rim. I know, look, he's going to get cooked a little bit in isolation here and there, but I feel like he really adjusted well to the speed of Houston's perimeter guys, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, not the most incredible weapons out there, but he did a really good job. And they look, as bad as the game was, they needed this from the bench, and specifically Cornett, to lock down and get stops, because the offense was disgusting and they needed to make things difficult for Houston at the rim, and Cornett provided really good rim protection for the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe talked about that in his post-game presser. We've got a clip from him here.
Just the luxury of having Kristaps and being able to go to him repeatedly, those 2 buckets down the stretch. How awesome is that, different from last year, to be able to just, when Jason and Jalen don't have maybe dump it into him and getting those easy buckets.
Yeah, when teams are switching on and off ball and pressuring us the way they did, a pressure release with the ability to play out of the post is, I think something that we have to continue to develop for the long-term success of our team. And so I thought he was great. I thought he stepped up tonight and played a great game. But really, O'Shea, Luke, Payton, Sam, that unit, to me, that's why you put so much stock into them. That's why you believe in them. They have to help you win games like that. When it's a long year, it's going to be nights where you're not at your best, but those guys brought it. And so it's big time.
Hell yeah.
I was panicking there, Jake. It took a while for that clip to get on topic. We went straight into the KP talk and not the Luke talk, but he brought it around. And yeah, Luke Cornett, he definitely had a moment where it looked like he realized that he was like the big motherfucker out there, like just so much bigger than anybody else. And from that moment, he was way more domineering in the paint and way more of a rim deterrent. And he had a number of blocks in this game, 10 rebounds, which is awesome in fairly limited minutes.
My guy, Rob Williams, doing his thing.
Yeah. Nimi saw three minutes, and then we never saw him again. And I think part of that is just credit to Luke. Like, it's like Luke's clearly the guy tonight. Luke's clearly got it. Luke's clearly making an impact on this game. Nimi, your services are no longer required. And then O'Shea Brissett has been hovering around this, I don't want to call it a knife's edge, but like, do we love him? Do we hate him? Do we need him? Do we not need him? Do we need an extra wing? Or is O'Shea like that prototypical 4/3 guy that we do kind of need to fill a hole in our roster so that we don't have to play double bigs? There was one possession earlier when it looked like Joe was still figuring out who his guys were in this game where it was O'Shea who screened for Tatum. And it was an ugly possession. And there were many of those in this game, but it was a particularly ugly one that just created terrible spacing for JT. And then immediately after that, O'Shea went out and Cornett came back in, and we saw more Cornett throughout the course of the game. But I do think that O'Shea had good moments in this one, particularly his offensive rebounding. He was 3 of 5 from the floor and just found ways to impact the game despite his, I guess, like talent deficiencies. Is that fair?
Well, yeah. Well, he's deficient in one specific skill that is important, and that's orange ball go in. And it's just not. But today, 3 for 5, man, he can't shoot. That's just like every time he has a wide open shot, I'm just like, I think I'd rather him just drive every time. Like maybe just because no one's guarding him out there anyway, and like I guess he's technically shooting like 30% from 3, I think, this year, but. It looks gross. I have no confidence in it whatsoever. But he's provided real value lately, especially. I feel like he's kind of really. Joe's going to him more often. He's playing more. Like I'm looking at the kind of the box score now. He's definitely playing like more consistent minutes. He played, how many minutes did he play tonight? Yeah, 18 minutes tonight. So yeah, and he had 13 in the Spurs game. Obviously that was a blowout. Looking at some of these more close games here, but like 17 against Utah, 20 against Indiana, 15 against Indiana. Like, he's definitely getting some more run. He had one play tonight where he hit him with a sick Euro left to right.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, like he's finding himself, it feels like, a little bit. And when the rest of the team is, like, when the Jays are playing well and you're adding what O'Shea does well, I actually think he fits pretty well because you've got everything you need with this roster, and just injecting 6'8" athleticism and energy and like solid cutting, decision making. Like, I don't find myself ever frustrated with the decision. Like, yeah, he can't shoot, but essentially he has to shoot when there's no one within 6 feet of him. And if he's making 30% of them, even if my brain is registering it at like 4%. It is technically going in at 30%, which is like totally fine. Like if he's giving you 1 for 4 or 1 for 3 every second night, plus all the other stuff that he's doing for 15 minutes, that's great. And defensively, he's absolutely part of the machine that's been an elite defensive unit.
Yeah, Spoonie nailed it with the description of his shot, of O'Shea Brissett's shot, which is, it looks heavy. Like it kind of looks like he's like shot putting a ball or something. It's not a good look. And you just, like, why can't he be coached out of that? It's like, hey, it's really important that you can put the orange ball through the hoop. It's really important that you do that. So we've brought in a guy. He's transformed so many shot forms in the past. Like, this is your guy. Let's have you guys go out for dinner, work together, work something out. Like, why they can't do that, it boggles my mind. But it is what it is at this point. And he's bringing a lot more to the table, like you said.
Well, it's a good point, because there are some guys that change their shots, and you ask the question, why? Markelle Fultz, top of the list. It ruined his shot for the rest of his career. Grady Dick, someone I saw who changed his shot coming from college into the NBA, who has not been able to hit a shot. It's like, if you're a shooter and it looks like mostly fine, I feel like you should do like small tweaks. Never change your shot completely. But if you're O'Shea Brissett and you're shooting 30% from 3 and your shot looks like what it looks like, just ayahuasca, retreat with the shooting coach, forget everything you know about your current shooting form and learn that in the mountains of Peru, I think is maybe what O'Shea needs to be doing.
Yeah, a retreat of some sorts with a shaman.
Exactly,
shot shaman.
A shot shaman. Yeah, I don't see why not. I would like to come, actually.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, my jump shot could use a bit of work as well. Plus, I'm always up for a holiday, and I don't know, bit of ayahuasca. Why not?
Why not?
Who else can we shout out in this game?
Well,
I guess Payton Pritchard with the crazy turnaround fading three.
Dude, P, man. Like I don't know. Fade away P. Shot clock buzzer P. Like he actually does feel like they've been putting him in with, if they're inbounding the ball with like 4 to 6 seconds left, they're inbounding the ball to him, and then he's shooting up and down the court, like trying to find something.
Always,
which I really like. He had an awesome one against Atlanta last year. But yeah, I mean, this one, late shot clock, 32 feet, fading. There's two guys on the team that like can actually make that shot. It's Payton Pritchard and it's Sam Hauser. And Pritchard's at the top of the list. Like, things kind of need to be, smooth and under control for Jason in particular to be able to hit a late shot clock buzzer beater type shot. But Pritchard, pure hooper, off balance, fading, 30 plus feet. Absolutely. He can make those shots.
Yeah, I think we talked about this during our off-season awards show, who is the biggest hooper on the team. And I think Pritchard was one of the top 2 answers there. Just as he is a baller. Like Jason Tatum, max contract guy, all NBA guy, he's awesome, 6'10", can do everything. But Pritchard, one-on-one, I'd take him over almost anyone else on the team. He's a baller.
One-on-one. Well,
yeah.
I don't know if I can go that far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think just the size on a pure one-on-one. You mean like playing one-on-one?
Yeah. Okay. So, but he's not gonna miss. Say it's you keep going back on offense if you you make and keep or whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of that terminology because we don't play that way.
Make it, take it.
Yeah, that's the one. Make it, take it. If you're playing make it, take it, Pritchard, he's making it every time. He's never going to be able to post him up because he's never going to be on defense.
Okay. That's a lot of faith for Payton Pritchard in the one-on-one game.
Well, the beauty is it'll never be disproven because it'll never happen. So I can go to my grave with that.
I say, once we get credentialed, I can ask Jaylen Brown in person. I'm like, who's winning one-on-one, make it, take it. Pritchard starts with the ball. I'm sure Jaylen will definitely answer Payton Pritchard. But these two guys, Pritchard, Hauser, Luke Cornett, Brissett, those guys are the heroes of this game. That run in the second quarter, and Joe said it in that post-game press conference, they pushed the lead out. The Jays, I don't know, Tatum being a -4 on the night, that feels accurate. Jaylen Brown somehow survived the single game plus minus, scarlet letter here by being a +4, but Jason Tatum -4, rarely do you see him as a minus, and absolutely fits the eye test. But Pritchard, Hauser, they were just playing connected. They were moving the ball. They were playing fast. They were fighting on defense. They were getting to loose balls, doing all the things that you want from your bench. So it's but they have not won us a lot of games this year. Part of that is because they haven't needed to. They've won so many games. What up, Josh, once you get to us?
Hello from the future? The past?
Yeah,
the past. Hello from the past.
Hello from the past, yeah. Yeah, they haven't won us a lot of games and they haven't needed to. This team has been so good that all the bench has really needed to do has play the other team's bench even. And when you build a team like this, your bench isn't going to be the best bench in the NBA. You're not going to be the Indiana Pacers. You're not going to lead the NBA in bench scoring when you've assigned the amount of resources that you have assigned to your top 6 guys. It's just not how it works. As much as we want every guy in our top 8 to be a fringe all-star, it's just not how it works. But for these guys to be able to step up and play their roles consistently and have a game like tonight where if they, if Pritchard doesn't go 3 for 5 from 3 and he goes 1 for 5 for 3, all of a sudden this is a 1-possession game going down the stretch and who knows what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Give the game ball to these guys.
But yeah, in the case of the bench, what's the saying? A rising tide lifts all boats. and it's clear, and Cornet might be the best example of it. Like the bench has risen themselves to a caliber that they were previously not capable of because of how well connected the team is, how good the culture behind them is, and the leadership. I think tonight being the exception from the Jays, and that end of the half play with Derek and the bench was probably the most inspired basketball-wise portion of the game. Because, like you said, Jake, how well connected those guys were. There's a comment in the chat here from Jimmy. How worried are we worried about JT at all? My level of concern is basically 0.
Yeah, pretty low. I mean, I guess what the question is, what kind of worry do you mean? Are you worried that he's going to now be a 23% from the field guy? Like, him and Jalen have just proven so much to me that, like, I've seen this game from them before. Absolutely. Greg Walton in the chat, hope you heard us on the telecast. Yes, we absolutely heard the Celtics fans on the telecast, especially so late in the game in Ime Doka's face. Is Jake drinking from a bowling pin? It is a large water bottle. I'm not going to lie to you. But
shout out to the chat, man.
Yeah, Tom Brady said hydration's important. So ever since, I've just been a very hydrated individual. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, worry level low. I'm worried in the sense that, like, I think we might be in a bit of a down swing right now. Like, Nuggets game, obviously they didn't play well, but process-wise, engaged, effort-wise, energy, they were fantastic defensively in the Nuggets game. I don't think Tatum is more inconsistent than, because I would say his floor is much higher than usual. Because like I would say coming into December and January, like, it felt like we were getting the Jason Tatum slow start kind of, but his version of the slow start now was 28, 8 and 4 on like 59% true shooting, which is way up from where the first kind of starts to his seasons were in the past couple of years. And, a game like today, he doesn't play great, still gets to the line 12 times, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, the floor has risen compared to where he is previously, in my opinion. It's just right now, I think they're in a downswing. It's the Raptors game, the Spurs game, low energy focus games, and this game was ironically like very similar to the last year's game in Houston as well, where Jaylen Brown was like the only, except Jaylen Brown was incredible in that Houston game, and Jason Tatum was disastrous, and they lost last year's game, because they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. And,
the curveball, the human curveball.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about Tatum at all. Like, I'm very confident in who he is in the playoffs. This is a good point, though. His 2-point percentage, especially in the mid-range, has fallen off. Since his hot start from the mid-range early in the season, it has absolutely fallen off. And it almost feels like he might be falling into some bad habits from the mid-range. He took one shot in particular that was like his step-back 3, but it was from 18 feet. That can't be happening. Like, the mid-range has to be from like the 13 to 16-foot range on balance from the post. Like, if you're breaking down guys and taking a step back from 19 feet, that's bad. That's bad NBA basketball. Not efficient enough. Like, if you're going to take that shot, that's got to be a pull-up 3. As much as even if you're going to miss it, like, you have to take that as a 3-pointer or get close to the rim. That's just not good enough. Lazy.
Yeah. And that settling for those shots, it feels aligned with this downturn that you referred to there, Jake. And I don't feel like it's completely unintentional if you just think about the juncture within the season that we're at. And if you think about the things that have plagued this team in the postseason in recent years, top of the list, other than health, has been like just fatigue, which it could be, assigned to the health category, which is, you saw it in the finals a couple of years ago. Like, the team were completely burnt out by the time they got to that point. You could argue against the Heat last year, there was a bit of burnout as a factor as well, because they were having to, try harder for a place in seeding throughout the regular season. Whereas this year, and this game is a good example of that, they are taking care of business. It is ugly, but they are winning like almost all of the incredibly winnable games, and then being really, really, really like elite level competitive against over 500 teams as well. So they're better poised and better positioned this year to have these somewhat intentional downturns, I think. So it just adds to the fact of how worried I am about the Jays and the team as a whole, because their process has been solid. When they've needed to play, they've shown us that they can, and they've demonstrated an ability to essentially half-ass these games and still win them somehow. So I'm as little worried as I've ever been, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. But yeah, he's absolutely now the new version of settling is almost like the post. Like he's getting the mismatch in the post. And to be fair, actually, he did get a couple of foul calls early where he did use the post to do that spin move and kind of try and go through the guy to get to the line. Didn't get a couple of calls and kind of didn't get back to it. But yeah, that's something that you can tell that he's settling for when he's getting in the post and especially when he's not trying to get closer, like when he's doing it from the 18-foot range, that's when you can really tell that he's settling. And I said it a couple of podcasts ago, the All-Star break is coming, and you can kind of feel it. It's just yeah, you got to grind these wins out there, and then they are. The good thing is I don't think it's impacting their defense. Like I don't think the defense was perfect tonight by any means, but I didn't think that the Jays defense was egregious today. I thought the defense as a whole was pretty good. It was the laziness on offense. It was like, we're better than these guys. We're going to just kind of sleepwalk our way to our 25 each and get out of here and not have to play in the fourth quarter. And as I don't respect this Rockets team. Like they especially with who they had out, like no Fred VanVleet, no Jabari Smith, no Jeff Green, no Tari Eason. Like they should have absolutely gotten Jordan Walsh into this game.
Sure.
But yeah, they treated the game like that.
Yeah, even Derek White just like straight up threw the ball out of bounds at one point. Like perfect, faultless, beautiful Derek White threw the ball just completely out of bounds at one point. So, if he's doing that, then something's up. And I don't mean that in terms of being worried about the team. I just mean their approach to this game, which I think we've covered now. Happy to be seeing the end of Ime Udoka's Rockets for the final time this year, Jake.
You know what I did enjoy, though, is Jaylen Brown chasing his triple-double to end the game.
Oh, you enjoyed that? You don't think it angers the basketball gods?
No, because here's the thing. Ime angered the basketball gods by doing whatever he did. Mm-hmm, and so they were still fouling, and they were like calling timeouts and challenging and like trying to pretend like the game was still within reach. And I have absolutely no issues with Jaylen Brown chasing the triple double. And you know what? Take that, Ime. Screw you, dude. Right up you.
Yeah.
You dunk it. He got the fast break, slammed it on him, got an assist. Yeah, I loved it. A little stat pad right in Ime Udoka's face.
Yeah, okay, I can subscribe to that. I'm happy to see the end of them. Like, I don't like bringing up those negative feelings from a couple of years ago. I don't enjoy it, and I'm sure most people involved, no matter how they feel about it, at least can probably meet each other in the middle of feeling somewhat awkward and tired by the whole thing. So I'm just glad that it's done and dusted for a year, and this time next year it won't be nearly as big of a deal. No. Anything else on this game? I feel like we need to just like sprint away from it because it was terrible and I never want to think about it again.
The only thing is, just before that Tatum conversation, I was just going to mention that I know Hauser was 3 for 12 from 3. That's just he's gonna come good again and feel like he can't miss a shot. He's dipped down to he's now 40% from 3 on the season. Like obviously still incredible, but we want him to kind of have a run where he's that would have been awesome tonight if he was able to go 6 for 12, right? Like that would have been what we needed to kind of break this thing open and get some rest down the stretch. But I thought he did a really good job rebounding. Obviously, he had 7 rebounds, 2 really big offensive rebounds, and 6 assists. Like he's become like a really good team player. He's become like a legit I do the dirty things guy, which is not something that I would have expected from the tall white shooter from Virginia. So. I like it.
He might be the captain of the playing well above the value of his contract sub-team within the Celtics, I think. I think he's the leader of that squad. And like we've said so many times now, like so good to finally have our own version of that after watching the Heat repeat that time and time again. The Mavs tomorrow. The Mavs are 3-3 in their last 6 games. Okay. They've got the 10th ranked offense on the year, the 17th ranked defense, not particularly good. Last 2 weeks, Jake, per cleaning the glass, 11th. Offense, 27th ranked defense in the last 2 weeks, which is in that stretches where they've gone 3-3. Grant Williams, who we'll see tomorrow for the first time since the sign and trade. 6 points per game. This is in the last 10 games. 6 points per game. 31% from three. If you look at the last 5 games, 27% from three. 40% from the field overall. Good for a negative 7.2. He's been dog shit. Grant Williams has been dog shit. And there's going to be a lot of feelings, I think, going into tomorrow, like sort of relative to a January regular season game. Who do you think benefits from the feelings more, Jake? Is it Grant Williams? You didn't want to re-sign me. You didn't want to keep me around. I'm going to, avenge that somehow, even though I don't think he's capable. Is it Kyrie and his feelings about his history with the Celtics? Is it the fact that Luka Doncic seems to always hit a game winner against the Celtics at least once a year? Or is it the inverse of that? Is it the Celtics being like, we never really liked you. We're kind of glad you're gone. In fact, we're really glad you're gone. And we'd like to show that to you in your house for the one opportunity that we get this year.
See if I can rank who is the most excited for revenge.
Because I could have asked that question a lot more succinctly. Sorry.
No. There's good layout. The motives behind the revenge of each candidate here. Because KP, I think KP and Grant, I think could be at the top of my list here because Grant obviously very recent. I think the Kyrie stuff's probably at the bottom. That's happened so long ago now, and the players never really felt the same way as the fans did. The Celtics players, maybe except for Jalen, seem to just love Kyrie. The question is, will KP play tomorrow? I think he's going to play. I know that they've been resting him on back-to-back, but I think he's going to play tomorrow specifically because it's Dallas. And that's why I'm putting KP at number 1 on the revenge rankings here. I think this matters to him. This was supposed to be a really, really big pairing, a superstar pairing between Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis that went really badly. Porzingis bore all of the blame for things not going well in Dallas, shipped out for Davis Bertans to Washington.
The Latvian laser.
The Latvian dude, it's insane. Like right now, it's if, for example, the Celtics have to trade Porzingis next year, or he had been playing this well for a year, and then now he's getting traded. What he would be getting back now for having like a season and a half of being healthy and playing at an all-star level, compared to what he was traded for from Dallas to Washington and Washington to Boston, would be night and day. So I guarantee you that he's carrying all that shit. He was a salary dump from Dallas to Washington. He's going to be at the top of the list. It's just whether or not he plays.
Yeah, and just beyond all that, he had 5 blocks tonight. He's a critical part of our awesome defense, especially if we want to play drop coverage, which against Luka may be necessary. I hope he plays, even if he just sort of lazily stands around the rim as a rim deterrent. That would be more helpful than not. So I didn't even think of that, the KP part of the narrative. That definitely jumps to the top of my list of narrative spicinesses, which is not a word.
Grant, though, I think you got to have Grant at 2, and I think this is a good thing. I think Grant is going to be very motivated to try and stick it to the Celtics because, there was the Jimmy thing that he kind of got blamed for in the playoffs. The I'm going to make them both. The in and
so
out.
Many lowlights.
Some in and out of the rotation stuff late in the season. The not being re-signed and let go basically for nothing. Besides a $6.2 million trade exception. Which I actually think could work to the Celtics' advantage here. I think Grant being extra motivated to try and put him, force himself into this game, I think is going to help the Celtics. I want Grant trying to do too much. That's good. That's what we want.
I fully agree. If anyone's going to fuck that up and just bring the wrong kind of energy for that and have it blow up in their faces, it's going to be Grant Williams. So I'm really excited to see that. And I feel like the guys will know that. And try and curb that a little bit, or rather egg him on. So
this is a good point from Michael in the chat here. Grant wants revenge. I want revenge on Grant for all for being so annoying last season. I'm like, oh, hang on a second. Should I be moving Jason Tatum up the list of revenge? Because every mic'd up thing, it was Grant and Jason joking around and Jason in the post game, having to be oh, Grant said that? Yeah. Grant said that? Got it. So, maybe Jason Tatum needs to be higher on the list.
Well, during those segments where they were mic'd up pre-game, during the pre-game shoot-around, it was always Grant and Juice in the corner and Grant defending JT while they were just having a chat. And JT was like splashing all of those threes over Grant's outstretched hand. So he's very used to shooting efficiently with that look in front of him. Obviously, it's different at game speed, but maybe clutching at straws here. Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. It's the time of year where the games need something to make them pop. And tonight we just did not have that. From a fan narrative, something to get your hooks into perspective, nothing. The Udoka thing, that's washed because we've already seen them. And the players, clearly nothing either. So going into this one, it's good to have a few different narratives to sink our teeth into. Predicting a win for the Celtics?
Is this a national TV game? Do you know?
I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
No.
I'm just
The Heat game is.
The Heat game definitely is. No, it's not. It's the Mavericks. Oh, speaking of which, Ben, we should do in ones. We'll be right back in a second here, folks. After we do our ad read. Do we have the ad read ready to go? Here it is. 3, 2, 1. FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So the reason I got reminded of that is because for the third time, well, actually no, we're still favored for tomorrow's game, which is welcome to the ASMR FanDuel read, Aliyah. Yeah, if you haven't heard it yet, that's
the audience loves it.
With. Yeah, apparently. So I hate to say it, but the Celtics are 3.5-point favorites on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. The Mavericks have had a lot of rest. They will have had 4 days rest, I think, coming into this one. Mostly to do with they had a game postponed with the Warriors because of the passing of the Warriors assistant, which is obviously incredibly sad. But they are going to be have had 4 days off, and we're having it back-to-back. We just played the Nuggets in a super close game as well. We may or may not have Porzingis. So while you can, because we don't know, I've already bet on Mavericks money line. I hate to say it. Yeah. And I'm just kind of following a trend here. You know, the Celtics have not been great now for a week or so. Raptors game, Spurs game, Nuggets game, I thought they played well, but then they played like crap again tonight. And so I'm just kind of following a trend here, and you're able to get like pretty good value with the Mavericks on top of, I'm pretty sure that's building in Porzingis like still playing, where he's announced that he's out. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. I'm sorry.
We got some detractors in the chat.
I'm sorry.
So you don't subscribe to the whole, like, there's a narrative, there's something to motivate these guys, they're going to bring their all and play like the best version of the Celtics that we've come to love this year?
Yeah, wow, you got me there. Damn. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's what a lot of people are going to be hoping. I think they probably lose. I think they lose today. They got 2 days off before the Heat game, and then that's the one that they're really going to bring the noise for. Question for you: would you rather win tomorrow or the Heat game?
Well, because we won tonight, if we split the next two, that's fine. Like, as long as seeding wise, it doesn't matter to me. The thing that matters to me is, have we won the most amount of games at the end of the year? So, like, if we can win both, that's great. If we win either one, I understand why you're asking, because of the demons that.
Well, the narratives and the Heat games on national TV. I did ask you in the playback stream if I give you 2 losses, Rockets and Mavs, for a Heat win, or 2 wins for the Heat loss, which one do you take? And you took the 2 wins with the Rockets and the Mavs, right?
Yeah, the Texas two-step. Like, do you really want to lose to Grant Williams? Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
point.
because then it's like next time we go back and play them, there's the narrative is picked up again, and suddenly it's like, well, Grant, with his new team, he beat us the only time we played them so far. Then we're establishing new narratives. If we just like beat them handily and move on, then we can focus on the Heat and not worry about new narratives that are rising up out of the ashes.
Yeah, the new question is obviously, like, I think it's easy to answer Heat as opposed to Mavericks, like if it's just a 1-for-1. But I think for everybody in the chat, you have to answer it. It's either Heat, we get 1 win, or you get 2 wins with the Dallas teams. I personally would be taking the Miami win because I'm a narrative based vibes guy, I guess. And so I would like, you lose those 2 games, you're on a back-to-back, you can kind of make excuses for the Mavericks game, and then you come into Miami and you smoke them, and you got your full team, you're like, Miami's got no shot against us, we're 2-0 in the regular season now. Give me the Heat win. Like these Western Conference games, the Nuggets game that you lose, the Thunder game that you lost, you win one against the Timberwolves, you obviously lose the other overtime one against the Timberwolves. You obviously want to win those big games.
Sure.
Like, you obviously want to win those big games, but the games against the Western Conference teams just mean so much less to me. Is that like the teams in the East are the teams you're going to face in the playoffs, and you want to just build. You want to build against those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the premise of the question, and I understand
That's how my brain works.
Well, yeah, and just the history with the Heat and wanting to have some confidence against them if we see them in the postseason, and winning against them in the regular season is going to be a huge tool there. I almost don't want to watch the Heat game. Like, obviously I will, and I'll be on the edge of my seat, but it's so stressful, and just how good they are at discombobulating our offense and bringing out the worst in the Jays. Yeah, I almost don't want to watch it, so
yeah,
I don't know. I don't have a good answer to your question because, like, the way my brain works is like just win all the games.
Just win
don't
all the games.
consider losing one of them. Just win
3-0.
them all. Yeah,
win every one, which
it's
is on the
table.
Well, there we go. And I will say, every time I'm like, let's go conservative, let's go 1-2, let's go 2-1. They have typically just overachieved in those spots. So,
hell yeah.
They could definitely win tomorrow. Like, even though, you got 35 minutes from Tatum and Jalen played 30 tonight. Kind of a light 30. There's a young man and kind of a light 30 and a light 35. Not every game is created equal, and I thought that they took this one pretty light. And they get the 2 days off, which is now also convincing me that Porzingis is going to play even more. So
good point.
I really hope that they play. Man, well, the good news, we get Drew back, and I actually think Drew is built more for the Luka matchup than some of these other matchups. Like,
okay,
he struggled with Jamal Murray, he struggled with SGA, and he's kind of spoken about the quicker guys giving him trouble, whereas he's done really well on some of the bigger matchups. And so, I mean, no one can guard Luka. That's just how it goes. But got Drew Holiday a little extra rest. He'll be fired up, I think, to come in, and I'm predicting that he's the primary matchup off the tip against Luka. I'd like to see Tatum, Jalen, and Drew as the 3 kind of guys that you're putting on him, because you just have to defend him with size and strength and length where possible.
Yeah, and exhaust him on the other end. Like the Jays in particular have had great success going at Luka and putting him in defensive hell at times because he's not the most quick-footed defender by any means, and the Jays have definitely had some success going at him in the past. So there's potential for him to be in hell on both ends. I'll stop there because I don't want to jinx us, and obviously there's probably way more for potential for Luka Doncic to absolutely go off and cook us like he has so many times in the past. But it's a really exciting matchup, and I guess talking about the Heat game, I hope our guys don't look beyond this matchup to the Heat game, which they're probably stressing about in anticipation. So it's going to be a fun one. Playback tomorrow, Jake, for the Mavs game?
Playback tomorrow. We'll be back. I believe it's you, myself, and Eric Weiss, if I'm not mistaken.
Awesome. Jeez, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yep. So just two guys and a player development legend in the playback stream. So stop by for the playback game, watch the game all together. I know Dimitri and Greg in the chat, you guys are going to be at the game. Maybe get on playback at halftime. Give us the halftime report. We'll put you on stage. Playback.tv/Celtics blog. It's all over our social media stuff if you want to find it. But another big game. We're right back to it, man.
Yeah, I believe the link is in the comments or the description rather as well, so you can find it there too. So looking forward to that one. Do you want to end talking about the Nuggets game just for a couple of minutes here, Jake, because we haven't really been on to discuss that one, and I want to focus on the hatred, the vitriol towards Joe Mazzulla after that game. Just broadly asking, Jake, like, do you think that's founded at all? Do you think that's justified?
I was going to answer Tony Lewis's question here. Yeah, in playback, you can actually watch the game as we're watching the game. So it's not like we're doing what we're doing right now while the game's on a different screen. Like, we're all watching the exact same feed, and so we're all like watching the game together. The premise is, watching the game with your buddies at the same time, just to clarify anybody listening as well. Joe Mazzulla and the Nuggets game. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the way that Joe Mazzulla approached that game. I loved the defensive game plan. The way that I like to defend the Nuggets is force Jokic to take as many shots as possible. You can't let the three-point shooters get going. You can't let MPJ and KCP start raining threes down, because once that happens, and then you start overreacting, drive and kick, Aaron Gordon's dunking on your head, that's when their offense is at their best. That's what Jokic wants to do. And they played Jokic straight up pretty well. The defense on Jamal Murray was pretty much fantastic the whole time. He just made like every shot, like 80% on just tough jumpers. And then tonight he goes 7 for 23 against the Wizards. And that's just...
Dude.
It hurts. It hurts, dude. It really, it fucking hurts. So defensively, I really liked it. Maybe you go to KP a bit more down the stretch. But I went back and I did a thread on Twitter. I looked at every Celtics offensive possession from like the 6-minute mark all the way through. And if you go back and watch it, the process was good. They got wide open threes. They got, to the free throw line. They were 1 for 4 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter, which is just obviously terrible. You go 4 for 4 from the free throw line, you just win the game. Simple as that. Jalen misses those 2 free throws. They actually get the offensive rebound. They miss a wide open 3. Get another offensive rebound, miss another wide open 3. We want Jason Tatum to get to the rim. He did get to the rim. He dunked one possession. He got to the floater game, which was probably a foul. He drove to the right and drew 3 defenders and kicked it to Derek White in the corner, and he missed a catch and shoot 3. Which, how many times has Derek White hit these clutch threes? I think the real thing that I think is okay to have real questions with are the 2, specifically the last Tatum mid-range fadeaway. It's
sure.
The entry pass wasn't great. He was a little bit off balance. He rushed it, but he could have definitely just spun and gone through KCP and put a shot up at the rim, tried to draw a foul, as opposed to doing the mid-range fadeaway. I don't hate the shot. I know he hasn't made a lot, especially this year. But with 4 seconds left, it's hard to get a clean look. And the Nuggets really defended the possession before really well. The ATO that Joe drew up, I thought was good.
Before the Tatum attempt.
Where the Tatum went 1 on 3. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. They are struggling so hard to get a basket. They finally get a stop. And it's we really need to get a look at the rim. We're trying to get an easy look. And Jokic also probably fouled him on the right hand. I understand it in the moment. I really do. Trying to push it and just try and finish. He has to be stronger with the ball in that spot.
Well, for folks listening later, Joe's got a comment. Joe Titty has a comment in the chat. The fast break 4 versus 1 was a bloody disaster, which is why we shifted the play that we were talking about there, just if you're listening later and confused. But he's got to look at the rim there. He's right there. There's no passing option for him. I guess the argument, Jake, is that he maybe should have pulled it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But totally. In the flow of the game, I was happy for him to make that attempt, and it's certainly not Joe Mazzulla's fault. There's no reason to be mad at Joe for that. No. And it was almost one of those games where it's we played so badly and still won. And it was at least, and this has become a slightly increasingly larger category of games or cohort of games so far this year, is games where we play terribly and yet we're still in a position to win or tie the game at the last possession. And that was the case with the first Timberwolves game. There was at least one more game that fit that description as well. And here we find ourselves in that same position against the Nuggets as well. And to me, like, that's at least you've got to credit good coaching to some degree to be able to get a team to that point when their best players are playing so poorly. Yeah. And the Jays had good moments in this game, but they just shot badly. And like the offensive process was good throughout the game. They got good looks. They just missed them. And then for people to go online afterwards, and I don't know why I'm surprised because it's pretty typical of any passionate fan base, but I just thought this was particularly egregious, the tear down of Joe Mazzulla as if he could have done something better throughout the course of the game to have them win it. I thought that he put them in the best possible position to win pretty much the entire game.
It's crazy. I don't know how the takeaway would be that Joe Mazzulla was the issue in that game. Kendrick Perkins, dude. It's like the bird flying backwards thing. It doesn't even make sense. Like, it's just, and the irony of that coming from someone like Perk, who, man, very
he's
loud.
Playing a role.
Very loud.
He's a television panelist archetype. You know, he's just playing a role, and it's probably like they may not even be his true feelings. You know, like he's just a guy with a job. So I don't even really necessarily hold anything against Perk because I just feel like he's out there playing his role in the media sphere. But it's more just like people who call themselves Celtics fans reacting to blame Joe Mazzulla in this way for a game that was pretty well handled despite so many things going wrong. You know, the Jays shot poorly, like I said. You mentioned Jamal Murray. He cooked so hard in those non-Jokic minutes. And the first 2 non-Jokic minutes was when Tatum came in the second quarter and went on his own personal run. Yeah. And it was like, here we go. Like, they can't play Jokic the whole game. All we've got to do is win these minutes, play them even in the Jokic minutes, and we're going to be fine. And then out of nowhere, Jamal Murray just starts hitting 17-foot turnaround, fading jump shots and just going fucking crazy. And like, if that just doesn't happen, we win the game handily despite all of the things that went wrong for the Celtics, like the Jays shooting poorly. So I thought the game was handled well. I don't think it was nearly as disappointing as others point out. And I'm just happy to distance ourselves from it now.
No, I don't want to call anyone out, but like if your takeaway is always, especially this season, on a game that the Celtics lose, is to point at Joe, like, I'm not sure if you know ball because it's the easiest, laziest thing. If you're going to come to someone and say Joe needs to be fired, Joe sucked, tell me what exactly. Because I think maybe the one criticism is like, can we have gotten Porzingis more touches? They were shading so much more attention over to him later in the game. They got good looks. They got to make him. They got the free throws. They got 4 free throws. On the other side, so the Celtics were 9 for 20 or 8 for 20, I believe, in the fourth quarter. The Nuggets were 9 for 22, 40%, 40.9 versus Celtics 40%. The Celtics were 16.7% from 3. The Nuggets were 12% from 3 in the fourth quarter. Like, both teams really struggled offensively. It was like a playoff game. Points are like really, really hard to come by in the fourth quarter. And the Nuggets were just able to like make 1 or 2 more plays. Like, literally make the 3 free throws. That's all we needed to do, dude.
Are you more or less concerned about a potential final series against the Nuggets? After it's only one game, but that's all the sample size we have so far. Because I feel like we were so close. Like I've already said a bunch of times now, we were so close despite all the things that went wrong that I think I feel more comfortable about the prospect of a series against that team. What do you think?
I like the Jokic matchup because, ironically, considering the Jays had a really bad game, they've typically done really well against Denver. Like the 2 matchups last season, they were awesome across those 2 games. Aaron Gordon, and I feel like you saw it in that game. Like, they're able to get to spots pretty easily. Like today, ironically, they looked way more uncomfortable as far as like balls being stripped and turnovers, like very, Miami Heaty, where they're like being bumped and they're just like wandering all over the place. Whereas I just feel like they missed shots in the Denver game. Like, Tatum got blocked by the rim late. Like, he made an awesome rim to the rim, and it was like, did he get fouled? Did Aaron Gordon block him? And I went back and watched it. It's like, he should have just laid it in with his right hand, but he just got blocked by the rim. It's like really simple stuff like that. I like the matchup because I think that Denver will struggle to slow us down on offense consistently, and those are the matchups I like more for the Celtics.
Sure. Makes sense. Anything else you want to touch on, Jake? We've gone over an hour now. It's getting on here in the day. I feel like we've covered a whole lot of everything between the Rockets game, the Mavs game, and the Nuggets game. Anything else on your mind?
Just got to keep grinding them out. Like, forever bleed green in the chat here. There's no such thing as a bad win.
This was pretty close.
Yeah, this was close. But look, a win is a win, and you got to keep grinding these things out. And they're 7-3 in their last 10. Pretty good. They're 33-10. On pace for 63 wins still. 3.5 games up on the 2 seed. We're in a good spot. And just try and regroup and hope you can grind another win out tomorrow.
Yeah, and look, Mavs game, Heat game, they're going to be more entertaining. Like, they just will be. And don't worry about the Jays. They are and will be completely fine. All right,
yes.
Celtics
Hopefully
late night.
Hopefully it starts tomorrow.
Yes, that'd be nice. It may need to, and hopefully Grant Williams doesn't cause problems for us that last the rest of the season. This was fun, Celtics Late Night. Thanks to you, Jake. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Love hanging out with you guys. Love reading all of your comments. If you're watching this after the fact, please subscribe to the First of the Floor YouTube channel. We very much appreciate it. We're very, very close to 3,000 subs. Please like this stream as well. Help us navigate the algorithm and put us in front of more eyeballs and e-balls and all of the balls. That's going to do it for this one.
Balls, please.
Celtics Late Night. We're out.